All right, so let's go to the West. When we go to the West now, we're gonna predict what we have with the West. The West first round. This is tough, man. This is tough. I'm actually like I've thought about it, but I'm kind of all my videos normally like I think about, but I also do on the fly as well too. And my brain just kind of thinks in the moment, and I kind of try and process things. That's why sometimes it feels like it's jumbled and it's all over the place. But I kind of like I think this thing of what I'm saying is elite in my mind in the moment. No, but you taking this fact. I think of so many different things. So I like, I kind of sometimes it sounds like I'm rambling or I'm going on, but I kind of go through this process in my brain while I'm discussing it live with you guys or while I'm recording. So, you know, things change, man, when you actually really think about it and think about it. So we'll start with the first series that I want to talk about. We're going to start with Utah and Memphis. All right, we're going to start with Utah and Memphis. And, Utah and Memphis, obviously we talked about Memphis having a great, playing situation. I think this will actually come down to, I think this will actually be a 6-game series, to be honest. I have Utah in 6 just because it's Utah and, they're number 1 seed for a reason. I don't know what the status fully is with Donovan and Mike Conley and whatever. And there is something to say with that type of rust, but they do have a system in play. There's something to be said about a system, right? And it's not like, oh, you're robotic and that's all you do, but a system in play with a play style in play. This is why Mitchell could be out. Conley could be out. All these guys could be out interchangeable, and you still see them still win. Anytime you see that, it doesn't mean that player isn't an MVP player or that player isn't an important player, because it just means that you're running something that's so solid and your chances of success is normally higher, because what happens is there's a role, people play a part. They feel like they're energized. They feel like they could do more. There's things they could do. They could be individually great, and because of a system. They play. You could plug and play players more so in a actual breaded system or play style, as opposed to one player is the system or play style, right? Like we talk about with LeBron and stuff. Donovan Mitchell isn't playing like that, so that's why Donovan Mitchell Conley could be out, and you can plug and play guys. You see that with Denver, right? You see, but Jokic is more so the system for Denver, but they still have a play style, which is why a guy could be out and you could still see they're fighting and they're winning some games. Like it's different. Like that's why the Lakers, LeBron is out, you see results that you see, right? And it's different, and there's something to be said about that. And that normally, when you have a guy injured like that, or 2 guys or whatever injured like that, and they're winning without those guys, that confidence that those role players get in a play style where they always were able to do more, they're now going to not rely on Donovan Mitchell to end all be all when you now get back, when they come back. So that's only does more positive, and it does more, it helps more in the long run in terms of that play style and that team's camaraderie and chemistry and just how they just move confidence wise, right? As a whole. So it doesn't mean it's still always going to come down to, Donovan Mitchell, but they have more confidence now going into it. So that's actually a blessing in disguise for the Jazz. And I think you're gonna see that start to play out, especially in this Memphis series. Because Memphis, their defense ain't no joke. Dylan Brooks ain't no joke. He's gonna be on Donovan Mitchell. He's a dog. You know what I'm saying? John Morant, he's a dog. Again, hitting shots and stuff like that. It's different because Memphis can't get away with rotating whatever, and then guys are open, and then Utah will hit these shots. So I could see in some scenarios where it might play out where it's 5 games, right? But I think that the grit and grind and just the dogs and the confidence boost that Memphis has gotten from this play-in is going to translate automatically. I see it 6 games. And honestly, I think it's easily going 6 games, especially because, yes, you have the confidence boost of not having Donovan Mitchell, the role players, but then he's going to be integrated. He should be coming back, right? Conley should be coming back. So now that whole you're here and you don't play exactly fully the same, that adjustment period of your star coming back is always an adjustment. So, I think that might cost them that could cost them 2 games of a team that has all the confidence, has 2 games winning in a row, playoffs and high intense games, clutch games, pressure games, and you relieve Husad. That they've what is the term? That that ghost or that kind of like thing trailing or that bump in the road or getting over the hump, right? Memphis has gone over it in terms of not making the playoffs and, playing in pressure games and having anxiety. And, oh, my God, they've gone over it. The fact that they've gone through and they've won 2 straight games at the biggest time, now that whole, we're not there yet, they feel like we're here now, right? And, you have confidence. So I'm not saying it's an upset, but they have enough to win 2 games. They do. So, JV versus Gobert, and they found something in, and what's his name in Tillman. So, when you look at that, like that, I think that they have enough to win 2, right? But again, Utah's just a better team, more seasoned, more poised, better shooters, all of that. So, and better. Defensively, they have dogs, so as well too. So, you look at that, and and rim protection from Gobert, especially with Ja Morant attacking. So you apply all of this. Ja Morant's gonna have to hit shots and do what he was doing last night. So I still see Utah in 6. Now let's go to the next series. We got Denver and Portland. You got a 3-6 series. The last time they played was 2019 in the conference finals, where Portland won in a 7-game series. I think this is another 7-game series. Again, I like the addition of Norman Powell for Portland. So now you have a real, Gary Trent he was shoot and he was spark, but he wasn't allowed to shot create as much. He still did, but Powell is now they actually run plays for him because they seen what he was doing in Toronto, and he has athleticism. He attacks more, so his scoring punch is more so of a boost for this team because he just lights out shooter. He was almost 50, 40, 90, and his athleticism and now attacking the paint and stuff like that, especially when Dame is doubled and going downhill. He's not only shooting, so if Norman's struggling on the perimeter, he still will get to the paint and get a lot of shots, as opposed to Trent kind of just lives and dies on the perimeter and shot creating, which I'm not ever mad at. But if he's struggling, it could just be the whole game he's struggling. For Powell, he'll still get easy bunnies and stuff like that in terms of his blow by and his athleticism. So, and transition, all of that. So when you look at that, and then defensively, he helps. Gary Trent was good defensively too. So, you add that fact with Powell, they literally have 3 scorers, and then you still have Melo, right? You still, Cantor can get a bucket offensive rebound, and then Nurkic is back as well too, right? And he could get buckets as well too. You got a lot of bucket getters, you got a lot of guys, right? You got, and their defense has improved, especially with Covington. Covington's defense has definitely helped them, and then he's more of a 3-and-D guy as well too. He helps them, so defensively Portland has increased, and that's why they've been able to win games when it matters. They lost the last game they could have guaranteed the 5th seed, right? But the 5th seed, and beat Dallas for the 5th seed in terms of when that last game, the second last game they played versus Suns, when Covington missed the free throws, but they lock up when it matters. They get some stops. That's been the one knock for Portland, but they've actually been getting stops. Dame is already Dame. CJ is already CJ. He's a killer. So I think with that said, I think Portland will win again in a 6 or 7 game scenario again. That's with my heart and my head, because again, Denver has lost Jamal Murray. It's not the same Denver, but they have gotten Aaron Gordon, and MPJ is being MPJ. But then again, MPJ hasn't had this light in a playoff scenario. The last time he was in the playoffs, he was more so of a role player. Now he's guaranteed the second option. So he doesn't move like a role player. He can't move like a role player no more. So he hasn't been in that playoff situation yet. And, I still think he could do good, and I still think he will do good. And I still think he actually low-key might even be the best player, because Jokic will have Nurkic, and, this is a battle, right? I think he might be the best player for Denver. But, because, again, he doesn't really have someone who will just lock him up. Covington will present some problems, but, it's kind of, it could go both ways. But again, just because Jamal Murray isn't there, that point guard, you have Capazzo there, so they could sag off, go under screens. There's certain things they could do, right? Like, they just, when the game slows down, they're going to struggle more because they have a 23, 25 points per game scorer leaving. Aaron Gordon's going to have to step up, but he hasn't really stepped up for Denver yet fully, right? Because he just got integrated. He just got traded, right? Will Barton also was a guy who was injured. I don't know if he's going to fully come back. I don't know what the situation with Derry is yet. If he was there, that might give another boost for Denver. But Denver's play style, Jokic's ability, MVP, all of that is still going to be potent. There's going to be lapses defensively for Portland, you already know. And that itself can win you 2 games guaranteed, especially versus Portland, that sometimes they struggle offensively and whatever if they're not hitting shots, right? But I just think that's going to come back to bite them for 7 games, just the lack of matching the ability that Portland has, right? So I got Portland in 7, but I could see Denver could win in 7. You never know. But again, we've seen this last time play out with Denver in 7, with Portland in 7, with that shot creating ability. You have multiple guys. That's what they didn't have. That was just them as Dame and CJ. Now you add Melo. Now you add Powell. Like, there's too much. There's too much, man. I think that they're going to win in 7. Honestly, now that I think of it, my heart says 6, but if I have to just put my house or anything on the line, I'll say Portland in 7. All right. So now that we passed that, we go to the Clippers and Dallas. I got the Clippers in. I got them in 5 or 6 again. I think it might be 5 this time, to be honest. I think it might be 5 this time. Because of the reason why I say 5 this time with the Clippers is because Ibaka's coming back. Now they got Cousins, and now Ibaka came back. Sorry. Now they got Cousins, and they still got Zubats. Now, obviously Luka's still a problem, and he's a problem. Now they have blueprint. They have these things that they know is what it is. But those lapses of offensive ability in terms of PG struggling and this, that, and the third, you add the Rondo factor. You add the Cousins factor. When it slows down, drop it to Cousins, can get me a bucket. You add those factors. Rondo will dictate and know who's going to who. You have the mismatch. No, don't throw it to the corner. No, we go in here. Like, that type of creating, that type of IQ and operating on a higher level. Playoff Rondo is on their team now. That's going to open up Kawhi to be Kawhi. Kawhi doesn't have to be that 30-something point per game scorer that he always increases to anyways. But I still think he will be. And now there's just that much less pressure on PG. So PG's even probably going to be better. But like I said, PG doesn't have to. I've always said this. PG don't have to average 30 or be 25 points per game for this team to be elite and go to the conference finals or the finals. They could have PG averaging 20, averaging 18 because this team is deeper. Reggie Jackson has gotten a lot of burn and gotten a lot of minutes and gotten a lot of confidence. They're shooters now. Because the shots they're getting are so open because it's off of all Kawhi's attention and it's going to be the same thing. Right? He's going to eat and he's going to draw so much. Guys are going to get open shots. They aren't reluctant to shoot the threes and just have to ISO. They shoot the threes. Marcus Morris, you add all of these factors in and they're potent. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Second best, third best, whatever, top 5 field goal percentage in the league. Like, you add this ability, man. Like, I think it's gonna flood. I think it's gonna flood Dallas, and it's gonna be a 5-game series. Again, Luka is enough to get you 2 games. He is, but I think that Clippers feel that they're better than last year. They feel more confident than last year that they're gonna make a statement. And I think they're going to want to make a statement by, if it goes 6 games again with this team, that might affect their confidence, right? If you get what I'm saying. So I think they're on a mission this year more, and they're ready to test themselves and be and especially Rondo is going to push them. And I think they're going to be yo, it's done in 5. We ain't playing this year. We're going to set the precedent right now. It's not the bubble no more. We here. We want to be here. We ready to be here. And it ain't no joke. We have a Baku who can pick and pop. It ain't no joke this time. I think this is 5 years. This is a 5-game series, and people are going to be surprised. I know it's Banks, what are you talking about? How? People are going to be surprised. Trust me, they're going to be surprised. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, honestly, I think it's a 5-game series. Again, Luka, you already know they have Luka. They have Josh Richardson. They have some guys, Tim Hardaway. They have dogs, Trey Burke. You already know Porzingis is still there. It's the same story. We already know what it is with the Mavs, and the same Luka story, the same Luka play style, right? But, they have come hidden as of late, but at the same time, they did have a 1-2 struggle, and they did, they possess some threats for the Clippers, but this is more so we know who is, we know what the play style is, we know how we game plan, we know everything, but now the Clippers are more so the more different team than the Mavs. The Mavs are more so similar. The Clippers are more so different. So that, I think will absolve the one game that they had. It's not the same exact team. So it was 6 already with the older team. Now you add a newer team that's better in a lot of situations, more hierarchy. So it's not like mans are just ISOing that shouldn't be ISOing in certain situations. It's going to go back to Kawhi. Go back here, go back. And then now they have more confidence because they're hitting open shots that now when they do ISO, it's more so like, we trust you. It's not like ISOing when you haven't been hitting. That's different context, right? There's levels to this you got to pay attention to. But when you're ISOing when you have been hitting, it's more so you're going to hit more, right? You're moving on, operating. You have that Diddy bop. You're operating on a better confident mentality and operating on a better confident level. You're hot. You feel nice, right? So that I think all those factors come in that could give them that'll make it a 5-game series, right? So again, we're gonna analyze the Clippers, more in depth and more in detail, obviously, as these games pan out. But that's just my prediction, right? So now we done that, and let's look at the Lakers, man. Let's look at the Lakers versus the Suns. We got the Suns. It's funny how, what was it, 2006, I'm pretty sure, or 7, where it was, 14, 15, 13 years ago, where Phoenix was a 2nd seed, number 2 seed as well, and Lakers were the 7th seed when it was Kobe. And Kobe forced a Game 7, and the Phoenix won as the better team, but Kobe was enough to go up 3-1. They lost a 3-1 lead, but Kobe was eating, going to work, right? And now you have LeBron and AD versus, CP3, Devin Booker and CP3 and that team, right? So now we break down the play styles and we contrast them and see how they play. The Lakers are big. Phoenix isn't as big, right? They do have Ayton, but Ayton doesn't play as big as he should, right? And they have Saric, right? Kaminsky doesn't really, right? But Saric, that's kind of like their small ball lineup, right? So those are the two. The bench big is Saric. The starting big is DeAndre, right? But what happens is Phoenix is great in terms of 3-and-D. Everybody's a 3-and-D player, and then D-Book and CP3 are the creators, and everybody else is 3-and-D, and you only score off of that 3-and-D, which means you go to the paint. They don't do as much mid-range or anything else. Devin Booker and CP3 do all 3 levels. But the other role players stick to their threes, layups, not that much mid-range, but mid-range by, when they need to, obviously. You'll see Bridges 1-2 do a mid-range. You obviously see Cam could do all 3 levels. You'll see him if he has to with the bench unit. You see, Cam Johnson, not Cam Payne, Cam Johnson. Cam Payne will do a floater, but it's mainly Payne and threes. And then they just have elite defense all over. You have Crowder. You have elite defense, period. So, Crowder will guard Crowder. Bridges will guard Braun, obviously, and he does a great job on Braun, and he actually does neutralize him a lot. And then you have Crowder will probably guard AD, and AD doesn't. That's why I'm saying Crowder can get away with it, because just like you saw in the bubble. But the reason why AD could dominate is AD is going to be the difference maker for the Lakers, not LeBron. AD will be. AD has the mismatch in size in terms of Crowder, but the problem with AD at times is if his skill isn't potent, meaning his jump shots isn't falling, his face-up game isn't falling, he doesn't just break chest and just go to the paint. He doesn't paint mash. He doesn't just abuse paint. He's a finesse type of big, and he loves he loves that hybrid, where he faces up and he goes to work. He doesn't just back to the basket, kill, right? He'll only kill in the paint off of maybe pick and roll situations, alley situations. If he catches it with deep catch, maybe in transition or late clock or whatever, and offensive rebound. He's not just going to the post, and breaking chests like that, even with a mismatch. So, when you look at that, AD is the difference maker for the Lakers if they want to win this series. Crowder will probably be guarding AD. If he gets fried, who would they probably put on him? Maybe a Cam Johnson. Maybe they might put Bridges on him and then put Crowder on Braun. So they could go that route as well too, right? And Bridges might be the better because he has length. Bridges is more so like a what's his name? Mo Harkless. Mo Harkless padded AD. Michael Bridges might do that, right? In terms of just that length, because AD doesn't break your chest. So as long as you have length to match him, that could sometimes neutralize him and cancel him. You saw that with who was guarding him, with Draymond, right? Draymond didn't even have the length. He just had the girth, but he just neutralized him like that, right? So, and even when they did switch, you've seen some other guys neutralize him. So, when you look at it from that perspective, again, I think Phoenix, my heart says Phoenix in terms of just my IQ and everything, just my heart IQ, all of that, and who I like, and all of that ability with Devin Booker. There is a Devin Booker factor, the fact that this is his first playoffs. But then again, on the flip side of it, there has been guys of that caliber that their first playoffs, they do Luka things. They do Derrick Rose things, right? That's, D Book has been in the league for a while, and he's been operating on this level, and he's that dog. He's Kobe-like. So, his first playoffs might not be a guy who struggles getting only 20 points, 18 points, that might not be his first playoffs. His first playoffs, he could be getting 30. He could be killing. He could be frying. Like, if D-Book is D-Book, Phoenix wins. The problem is, D-Book, we don't know. It's his first one. We don't have any history, any footage, playoff footage of him, of what we could go to so we could assume or predict, right? So I could see why people might think Lakers in 6 or 7. I think this is a 7-game series regardless. It's funny how before the season I said that Phoenix is a dog team, that if they face the Lakers or anything like that, or a team that is expected to be an upset or they're going to beat, they might do it at upset. It's funny how the number 2 seed, if they win, it's an upset. But, the Lakers don't hit shots, man. I don't see nothing from the Lakers ability-wise that scares me if I'm an opponent team. I feel like if we lose, it's because we beat ourselves, like you've seen Warriors do to themselves in the play-in, right? If you guard LeBron if you make LeBron do all ability, you don't double him, you make AD do all ability, like AD has to carry. AD hasn't been on the level to just carry with 30, 30, 30 every game. He hasn't been. Even in last year in the playoffs, when he would eat, it's still like him and LeBron eating. Even when he's eating, LeBron isn't eating. LeBron, again, I'm not saying AD can't do it, but LeBron dictates. That's what I mean. LeBron dictates. LeBron doesn't just go to AD every single play for the whole game. LeBron goes, it's LeBron's offense, so there's going to be times where it's just like AD is just not even getting the ball, right? So when you add that factor, if I had to choose, I'm going to choose Phoenix in 6 or 7. This is the 2 series that I probably would be wrong about is the Phoenix series and the Milwaukee-Miami series, right? Every other series I'm probably going to be right about, but this series is one where obviously a lot of people have Lakers winning, majority have Lakers winning, but I'm going to be an anomaly. I'm going to be the outlier. I have Phoenix winning in 6 or 7. I think this is probably a 7-game series, and obviously the experience for Lakers does play out, and it does. For this series, I'm going to use more heart because it's time for Devin Booker. I'm tired of people overlooking him. I'm tired, right? I'm just tired. So I've been waiting for this day for Devin Booker for a long time if you've been following. So, he has to rise to the occasion. Again, this is not going to tell all about Devin Booker's career. It's his first series ever, right? And it's funny how his first series ever is going to be his toughest, and it's going to be, an uphill battle for him in terms of what the spectics and the optics are in terms of who's supposed to win, right? The odds are. So I'm going with my heart in this one. I'm being honest. I'm going with my heart. My head, not my head, because my head even still says Phoenix should win on, in terms of how I'm looking at the game. If they do this and Phoenix plays it right, doing this and whatever. But there is things that my head does account for in terms of experience from the whole team. Like, you have guys who are experienced like Jay Crowder, which that does make me feel like, okay, it's not the same, right? It does absolve, right? When you look at Jay Crowder, when you look at CP3, the type of dogs they are and the type of experience they provide, right? But there is, majority of the team is young guns and haven't been here, right? But I saw them in the bubble when every game was a playoff game for them perform, right? But it's still not the same. It's not the Lakers, right? It's not the big lights. It's not the same. Right? It wasn't road crowds. So when I add all of that into account, I do understand why people will say Lakers. People saying 5, that's cap. I would say 6 or 7. I do understand why the head says that. But I'm going with the heart on this one. I say Phoenix in 6 or 7. And the reason why I'm going with the heart, I never go with the heart just off of heart. This is a mix of heart and head. Right? Because some of the reason why I'm going with heart is because the head tells me they could actually do this. So I go with the heart. If it was just purely heart, so many, I like Westbrook and Beal, and I would want them to beat Philly. I like them personally better than, but I'm not going with that. I'm going with, the head always, I go with the head more than the heart. Always. The only for me to actually say I'm going with the heart, it's because like the head also is telling me your heart might be right too, fam. And that's the only reason why I would go with the heart in situations like this. Like again, I say I don't apply biases. I don't really apply biases ever, right? But this situation, I'm gonna be biased in this situation and go with the heart. And I'm gonna go with Phoenix in 6 or 7, and that would change that would create a whole uproar for the league if this Phoenix was to win. But I give my reasons for that, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see how it pans out. So this is my playoff predictions. Let me know what y'all playoff predictions are. If I'm capping, if I'm fugazi, if y'all don't agree, just let me know. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, this is what elite looks like. You gotta love it at the end of the day, man. You gotta love it. So, it's what elite looks like I told y'all, man. Share, like, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, man. You already know it's True Talks, because True Talks. We out here, man. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And I'm out, man.